And serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 10.
Federal records reveal more than 100 complaints over the course of 10 months at a Fargo post office branch. It's located in South Fargo. It's been the source of frustration for residents for years.
It's a problem that drew the attention of U.S. senators. Valley News Team's Joshua Peguero has those records and is here to explain. Joshua?
In my hand, I have a list of mail delivery complaints surrounding the Prairiewood post office. This is just a small portion of hundreds of documents. It took me nearly 6 months to get them all. They cover 10 months from March of 2018 to January of this year. All total, there were 139 complaints submitted. The highest number of missed package complaints, no surprise there, it was around the Christmas holiday. From December 21st of last year to January 7th, with 47 complaints. On average, most post offices get 1 or 2 complaints on a given day. This one had days of 6 to 14 complaints a day. I spoke with a USPS spokesman who told me their goal is to return a complaint call within 24 hours or 1 business day. On average, records at Prairiewood show it took at least 3 days to respond to any one complaint of a package not being delivered. I also found an email sent last November by USPS regional headquarters in Denver. It stated there were more than 1,200 unanswered complaints. The situation was described as a failure. Mike and Andrea, we've been covering this story for quite some time, and we get the same response. The Postal Service is working to improve. Based on these figures, they have a lot of work to do.
Joshua, thank you. We've also reported previous efforts on the part of former Senator Heidi Heitkamp and current Senator John Hoeven to address the problems at Prairiewood. We will be forwarding our findings to Hoeven for his response.
We have an update tonight for you on a stolen vehicle case from the Osgood area. Fargo police were on the lookout for a man caught on camera Tuesday morning stealing a gray 2012 Jeep Grand Cherokee in the 4900 block of 55th Street South. We're getting word from the victim this evening that police arrested a man in Grand Forks this afternoon. She says the Jeep has dents, cracks, and cigarette holes in the seat. The victim says police found many stolen items inside. They retrieved her car seat and baby items, but not the checkbook.
It's been 1 year since searchers found Olivia Lonebear's body inside a truck submerged in Lake Sakakawea on the Fort Berthold Reservation. Authorities still haven't said what led to her disappearance and how she died. A spokesperson for the FBI says the investigation remains open. They say releasing more information could jeopardize the case, and they want to provide proper closure for the Lonebear family.
Because it's ongoing, any comment about it could cause a chilling effect on future developments in this case. And, additionally, any details made public now could significantly inhibit the family's pursuit of justice for Olivia.
Smith says 30% of the FBI's Minneapolis division work to investigate crimes on Indian reservations across Minnesota and the Dakotas. And here's a look at the timeline of the investigation. Lonebear was last seen on the night of October 24th, 2017, when she left the Sportsman's Bar in Newtown in a pickup truck. Search crews looked for almost a year before volunteers found the vehicle in Lake Sakakawea. 3 days later, Lonebear's family confirmed that Olivia was in the vehicle. She was laid to rest the following Monday. And back in April, the Attorney General's office issued an opinion that medical examiners acted properly in withholding medical records since the case remains active. 3 affiliated tribes chairman Mark Fox said, quote, "We share the concerns of the many friends and relatives of Olivia. Closure for the family is important, as well as the proper provision of justice."
We have new information tonight surrounding that fatal crash along Interstate 29 just north of Hillsboro earlier this evening. Authorities have identified the 76-year-old man killed in that crash as Norman Dronin of Hillsboro.
Valley News Team's Katie Opperly was at the scene of the crash, and she joins us with the latest. Katie?
Mike, Andrea, investigators say the SUV driven by Norman Dronin was stopped in the left lane of Interstate 29 for unknown reasons. As he sat there, another SUV driven by 55-year-old Barbara Kramer of Grand Forks was passing a semi. She rear-ended Dronin's vehicle, presumably at a high high speed. Following the collision, her vehicle crossed both lanes and went into the ditch. I was told by an eyewitness that it was not something you want to see. A helicopter was called to take Dronin to Sanford when he died from injuries. Barbara Kramer was taken by ambulance to Sanford in Fargo. We don't know the extent of her injuries. However, the sergeant on scene said they did not appear to be life-threatening. Andrea?
All right, Katie, thank you. The crash remains under investigation at this time by the North Dakota Highway Patrol.
A Minnesota man has been sentenced to up to a month in jail for leaving his 5-year-old son alone in the woods as punishment. 32-year-old Gregory Wilson was sentenced for gross misdemeanor child neglect. Authorities say Wilson abandoned the boy in a wooded area south of St. Peter last summer as punishment for wetting himself. When Wilson returned, the boy was gone. A passerby found the boy walking along a highway.
Laws passed by the North Dakota legislature go into effect at midnight. One of them makes some cases of fleeing from an officer a felony. Bismarck police say the number of such incidents has increased 300% in the last 4 years. They say they don't chase most people who flee, but that doesn't mean they get away with it.
That doesn't stop the officer from doing a follow-up investigation. If they have a license plate, a driver description, they can still do follow-up investigation. And if they can locate and identify the driver, they can still be charged.
Felony charges would apply if a person fleeing in a vehicle endangers others.
Mental and behavioral health can affect every aspect of daily life. For youth, it can impact their development and schoolwork.
Valley News Team's Jacob Notterman tells us how North Dakota is working on solutions.
At the Capitol, legislators met with representatives from the Department of Human Services and Bismarck Public Schools to discuss behavioral health. The theme of the day, necessary collaboration.
Most of the time these topics end up being quite siloed. We have hearings about education, we have hearings about human services, so this is really kind of a beautiful merging of the fact that we need to have more communication to better impact the lives of the kids we serve.
Many of the issues derive from traumatic experiences or neglectful parents. There were over 4,000 reports of child abuse or neglect in North Dakota just in 2018. According to Kids Count. In order to reach significant impact, advocates and representatives agree that there needs to be a double investment.
If we do a heavy investment on the prevention side, we'll have to do less on the recovery side. And so Bismarck Schools is attempting to make sure that we address both, the prevention and the recovery throughout the system.
Bismarck Public Schools has already implemented policies as to how to handle students who endure a traumatic experience. Much of it includes removing the stigma of behavioral health at home.
I think one of the most important things we can do is start shifting the culture of how we address behavioral health. One example that we've been working on with schools is, for example, if a kid is late for school and they're tardy, instead of saying, "Where have you been?" we say, "Are you okay?"
A long road for recovery, gaining traction through collaboration.
There were over 7,000 suspected parent abuse or neglect victims in the state in 2018 alone.
A camouflaged camera found along a greenway in Grand Forks has created a bit of a social media scare. City staffers tell us not to worry. The cameras are there to help people not hurt them.
We can't be out there 24/7, so we do rely on the cameras. Sometimes we see damage or activity that's unfavorable, so this just gives us an opportunity to maybe try and get some more details about what's happened.
The cameras will also capture who's using the trails and when. The first camera was put in about 3 weeks ago, and the other 2 were added yesterday. Because the cameras are mobile, they won't always be in the same place. If you have concerns about who might be watching you and why, you can always reach out to the police or the city.
The body of notorious 1930s gangster John Dillinger is expected to be exhumed in September from a concrete encased grave at an Indianapolis cemetery. This comes more than 85 years after he was killed by FBI agents outside a Chicago theater. This could put to rest conspiracy theories suggesting that the violent criminal, some people considered a folk hero during the height of the Great Depression, isn't even buried in his marked grave. It's a fascinating story in its own right, but it's close to home too, as Dillinger once called St. Paul home.
Using marijuana legally doesn't always protect you if you fail a drug test in the workplace.
Federal employees could find they might have to choose between their therapy of choice or their jobs. Kristen Casper has the latest.
They cannot go get a job with the government because they need to be able to have access to the cannabis for health issues that they have. Why are we looking at it differently than any other medicine?
Abby Deal uses cannabis daily to help manage pain and migraines. The cannabis she takes is recommended by a doctor legally, but even though she uses it as medicine, she and others like her can't work for the federal government.
We should be encouraging our employees and the people that represent us in the government to have safe alternatives for medicine.
Florida Congressman Charlie Crist thinks it's unfair the federal government can't employ people like Deal who live in states where marijuana is legal medically because they can't pass a drug test.
I think if somebody is legitimately taking medical marijuana prescribed to them by their physician, that they shouldn't be discriminated against for that, and they shouldn't be barred from federal employment.
And that's why Crist wrote a bill to change that in states where marijuana is legal both medically and recreationally.
While Crist and cannabis users want the drug test to be eliminated, employee screening consultant Nina French says it could be damaging to employers and businesses.
They're going to see higher turnaround. They're going to see higher accidents, higher workers' compensation. They're going to see tardiness and all the things that we know are an issue with alcohol or drugs in the workplace.
33 states and counting have legalized medical marijuana, and 11 have made it legal recreationally. In Washington, I'm Kristen Casper.
In June, Nevada became the first state to pass a law preventing employers from rejecting workers based on pre-employment marijuana testing.
Valley News Live 10 at 10 continues with no wait weather.
All right, we do have some thunderstorms way up north near the international border. This cluster of storms is severe, and it's working its way into Cavalier County right now with the threat for some sizable hail. All the watches for weather tonight out to the far west, but as we take you in a little closer, a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued until 10:45 for Cavalier County. This does include Langdon, for really multiple cells that are working their way very slowly. They're moving south and east at only 20 miles per hour. It looks like this core here is going to miss Langdon just off to the east, but this core here heading generally in your direction. It'll take a bit of time to get there. And these cells bring the threat of some significant hail with them, between 1.5 and 2 inch diameter at times possible from these cells as they drift their way through rural portions of northern Cavalier County. Timing, Langdon, about 10:55. The storm should be approaching your area. We'll keep you up to date with the latest on that. This storm also showing some signs of rotation here where you see the reds and greens next to each other. Severe thunderstorms can sometimes produce funnels or even tornadoes, so definitely heed the warnings from that and pass along any severe updates that you have to the local authorities. Right now in Fargo, it's been a quiet and almost perfect night. 75 degrees, winds gusting from the south-southeast, still over 20 miles per hour, so it has been a breezy one. Upper 60s and low 70s across the board, mid-70s still in Devil's Lake. Look at Cavalier, 77 degrees as we head into the evening hours. Here's your hour-by-hour forecast, and it does show that we'll have a chance of some showers and thunderstorms along the north. It's not showing this cluster very well, kind of an isolated event, but I do think for at least the next couple of hours this storm could be an issue. Now, we will wake up with some patchy dense fog in the morning, and it does look like temperatures will be in the mid-60s to around 70 degrees already. And that means for your lunch hour, we'll be heading on our way towards 80 degrees. Now, as we go through tomorrow afternoon, the wind arrows not present, not as gusty for your Thursday afternoon. But once again, this time to the east of the Red River, we'll have thunderstorm development. They'll move from north to south, and an isolated storm could become strong to severe tomorrow as well, with hail and damaging wind the main threat. So 60s to start your day, ramping up, and we will spend from noon all the way until about 8 or 9 o'clock in the 80s tomorrow, with a peak temperature in the afternoon around 86 degrees. Thunderstorms in northwest Minnesota. Your temperatures on your drive home will be in the low to mid 80s there. There's an isolated chance at a near 90-degree reading for your Thursday afternoon. This old pup says the hot weather's returning. I'm heading to Strawberry Lake. Steve, thanks for sharing your photo of your puppy. Here's a look then
At your forecast for Friday, it does look like we'll have spotty thunder again to close out the work week, and 83 degrees. We stay hot Saturday and Sunday. Spotty to isolated thunderstorms, not out of the question this weekend, but it certainly isn't going to rain and storm all weekend. We cool off Monday into Tuesday as a cold front moves through. That will bring our best chance of rain in the forecast period.
All right. Thanks, Sach.
You bet.
Up next on Valley News.